One of the strangest things about MMA is that becoming too good can actually become a problem. When a fighter starts dominating, fans stop judging them like a normal athlete. They start judging them against the impossible version of that fighter they created in their own heads. A fighter wins 5 fights in a row, finishes everybody, and suddenly the expectation changes. Winning a decision is not impressive anymore. A competitive fight is not seen as a great fight. The fighter is expected to walk through everybody forever. The moment that stops happening, the conversation changes. People start asking if the fighter was ever that good. That is the weird pressure that comes with being dominant in MMA. The better you look, the less patience fans have when you finally look human. Ilia Topuria is probably the perfect example of this. Before fighting Justin Gaethje, Topuria had one of the strongest reputations in the sport. He was not just winning fights, he was destroying elite fighters. He knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, who many people considered one of the greatest featherweights ever. Then he did something even more impressive by stopping Max Holloway, a fighter who had built his entire career around being almost impossible to break. After those performances, people started talking about Topuria like he was the next unbeatable superstar. His boxing looked elite, his confidence was extremely high, and every part of his game seemed complete. Then he fought Justin Gaethje and lost. Immediately, the narrative around him changed. A fighter who was being discussed as one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC suddenly had people questioning whether he was ever as good as they thought. But that is where MMA fans can be strange. The same fighter who beat Volkanovski and Holloway did not suddenly lose all of those skills because he lost one fight. What changed was the perception. Fans were not just attached to Ilia Topuria the fighter, they were attached to Ilia Topuria the idea. The idea that there was somebody who could not be stopped. Once that idea disappeared, some fans started rewriting everything that happened before. Khamzat Chimaev went through something similar. When Khamzat entered the UFC, the hype around him was unlike almost anyone in recent years. His first performances were ridiculous. He was taking people down immediately, controlling them, and making experienced UFC fighters look completely outmatched. The conversation became less about whether Khamzat could become champion, and more about how dominant his championship reign would be. People were talking about him like he was a once-in-a-generation fighter. Then he fought Sean Strickland. The fight was competitive and went to the judges, with Strickland winning by split decision. And suddenly people started acting like Khamzat had been exposed. That reaction is interesting because Sean Strickland being competitive with Khamzat is not some embarrassing result. Strickland is a former champion with a style that causes problems for a lot of elite fighters. But because fans expected Khamzat to completely destroy everybody, anything less than that felt disappointing. The standard became impossible. A normal fighter can have a tough fight against an elite opponent, and people accept it. A dominant fighter has a tough fight, and people act like the entire career needs to be reconsidered. Tom Aspinall is another example of this. Before facing Cyril Gane, Aspinall looked like the perfect modern heavyweight. He had speed that most heavyweights do not have. He had knockout power. He had dangerous grappling. Most importantly, he was finishing people quickly. His UFC run was built around making elite opponents look like they did not belong in the same cage. Because of that, expectations became massive. People were already talking about him as the future of the heavyweight division. Then the Gane fight happened, and there were moments where the fight looked more competitive than fans expected, and the infamous double eye poke happened. Immediately, some people started questioning Aspinall. Even though he was unjustly cheated, a large majority of the fan base trashed him for over 7 months straight, and they still trash him to this day, calling him a quitter, and that John Jones would have beaten him after all, even though MMA math does not work. That happens constantly with dominant fighters. Fans forget how difficult the sport actually is. Cyril Gane is not some average opponent. He is one of the most technically skilled heavyweights in MMA. Look how easily he dealt with Alex Pereira, literally dropped him with a jab. But simply because Jones beat him easily a million years ago, now Aspinall and Pereira are trash, or frauds, etc., as little sense as that makes. Having moments where you struggle against somebody like that does not erase everything you did before. But because Aspinall had made everything look easy before, fans viewed any resistance as a problem. The fastest finishing rate in the history of the UFC. 100% finishing rate. Pavlovich, Blades, Tybura, Spivak, Volkov, all finished in the first round. All gone in an instant. Just because Tom was in a fight that was harder than usual, and a fight that he didn't even lose. This happens throughout MMA history. Anderson Silva was treated like he was untouchable during his prime, which he was, to be fair. Then Chris Weidman knocked him out, and some fans hopped off the bandwagon. Israel Adesanya became one of the most respected strikers in MMA history after his run at middleweight. After losses, the same fans who praised his technical ability started saying he was overrated. Kamaru Usman dominated the welterweight division for years. Then Leon Edwards landed the head kick, and the public perception of Usman changed almost instantly. Many fans even switched up and said his resume was never that good. That is how quickly MMA narratives move. A big reason this happens is because fans do not just watch fighters anymore. They follow stories. This is entertainment after all, so they need a hero and a villain. They create the next unbeatable champion. When a fighter keeps winning, fans start attaching themselves to that identity. They enjoy being able to say they witnessed somebody special before everyone else. But when that fighter loses, some people feel like they were wrong for believing in them, so they overcorrect. Instead of saying, "That was a great fight," they say, "Maybe this fighter was never good." MMA is full of examples where one result completely changes the way people talk about somebody. The hardest part about being dominant is that fans stop giving you normal expectations. They do not see you as a fighter anymore. They see you as a test. Every opponent is supposed to prove whether you are real. Every difficult moment becomes evidence against you. Every loss becomes a chance for people to say they predicted your downfall. The only fighter who is seen as a dominant champion, but is the exception to this rule, is Jon Jones himself. Jon could have the worst performance of his career, but still win, and his fans will still look at those wins as dominant. Reyes got robbed against him. He beat his ass for 3 rounds, yet his fans will still look at that fight as a dominant performance. They will still pretend that Jones won, even giving him a 4-1 score to Jon. St. Prude, Thiago Santos, and even Anthony Smith took Jones to a decision. He could not finish them. So I don't know why Jon's fans act like he's been untouchable throughout his entire career. The reality is that dominance in MMA creates expectations that no fighter can realistically maintain forever. The moment a fighter starts looking unbeatable, fans stop appreciating the difficulty of what they are doing and start focusing only on whether they can continue doing it. A close fight becomes a weakness. A bad performance becomes evidence that the fighter was never as special as people thought. But that is not how MMA works. Every fighter eventually faces somebody who can make the fight uncomfortable. The sport is too technical and too competitive for anyone to look perfect forever. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like this video, leave me a like and subscribe. See you in the next video.